Yep.
It normally takes about by the way, there is a 2 or 3 minute lag normally between we talk and when it goes up on LinkedIn. I have to say I'm now getting extremely nervous because nothing is appearing on my screen. So can you see anything on LinkedIn?
What I can see, let me just give me a sec.
It's not February the 1st.
Happening now. Yeah, it's happening now. We are online.
Oh, okay. So you can see
We
us,
are
can you?
online. Yep,
Okay.
we are online.
So everybody
Just give
that's
me a sec.
listening to this, I apologize if we've been nattering rather strangely as we've been doing the pre-work to see if this works. I
Yep,
don't
we
know
are
if
live.
LinkedIn Lives can be quite fun because my guest last time came from Uganda as it happened, and they had an election the next day, and the government took all the lines down for 4 days because there was questions over the legitimacy of the election. So sometimes strange things happen. So to anybody that's joined us, a really warm welcome. We're going to give probably 60 seconds for me and my guest to settle down, for you to settle down, and then we'll start. But if you've joined us, a really warm welcome. And Mohammed, should we start? You're supposed to say yes. Are you,
Yeah, let's do it.
Are you comfortable with starting? That's absolutely brilliant. And while saying that, let me find I'm on the right page of the script. Welcome, everybody. Thank you very much for taking your time out to listen, whether you're listening to us in the real play or you're listening to us afterwards. We're going to be talking about LinkedIn. The heading is Dark Social, how leaders actually use LinkedIn. And this is an important subject for me. I know it's an important subject for Mohammed, but I have to say of all the things I do, this is the one in some ways I'm the least clear about. And so I'm interested in exploring how it works. So really what I want to do today is I want to use some of my experience and some of Mohammed's experience so we can actually put together what's happening and come up with some ideas that will help everybody do better on LinkedIn. So let's start there. And so what we're going to cover is what LinkedIn is, what we all think LinkedIn is, because a lot of people have different views, what we think it's good for, what we all have in place before we can start using it properly. We've come up with this word dark social. What does it mean? And how is it so apt for the people that get the best value from LinkedIn? And then as a leader, what do you actually need to do? What do you actually need to do? What can you improve and what you can measure so you turn this into a really valuable resource? We'll begin finishing it off by having a look at where does AI fit into all this? What can you outsource to people like Mohammed and things like that? So after saying that, Mohammed, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah. So first of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm really glad for this opportunity. So yeah, I'm just like a normal guy from Pakistan who has been 24 years old, and for the past 3 years, I'm working on LinkedIn, and I'm working on LinkedIn properly so far, full time. And so far, I have worked with almost 50 plus clients all across the globe, and my main core of expertise are basically working with consultants or either with consulting firms. And my two most successful project was one of fundraising, and then there was a company called Click. I helped them to sell their software to Ministry of Education Saudi. So these was my favorite two the contracts I did.
Okay.
So Yeah, that's my quick introduction.
No, that's right. Yeah, we're going to talk about this later, but actually, as you started talking about it now, beforehand, we
Hmm.
were having a quick chat about one of your niches on LinkedIn, maybe to help
Hmm.
people raise money.
Yep, yep.
So, can you just say a little bit about that? A little bit about that, because one of the conclusions I'm coming to in the end, all the basic marketing 101, we have to know who we're
Hmm.
looking for, what the messages are, what we're saying,
Yep.
etc., etc. So, just tell me about that because I think I found it fascinating.
Yep. So for past for 3 months ago, I just reached out a guy. His name was Simur, and he was a founder of a company called Velp, and he was raising $1.6 million for his company. So he just told me that I want to raise funding for my company, and can you help me with that? So I just said yes. Before that, I never raised anything for investors, so I just start working out, and in 3 months of time period, I provided him 16 investor meetings, and right now he is in a place where he is, trying to get money from those investors. So in a process of wire transfer, he is once the meeting is being done with investors, you go in the next stage where provide documents, all the testifying stuff, and then they transfer money to you. So he is in the process of second stage where he's provide documents and all that stuff to investors so he can get a wire transfer.
Okay.
So
Thank
yeah,
you.
that.
It's all right. It's all right. I'll let you speak on that. Let's get back to, because I was interested in what you were saying before we
Mhm.
actually started the conversation.
Sure,
So let's
sure.
start right at the top. What is LinkedIn generally good for, and what is it not good for? So I'm going to get very basic here because I've been on LinkedIn more years than I'm going to admit. But in
Mhm.
essence, at its core, from my concern, it's a place where
Mhm.
people can look you up before they've got a
Mhm.
meeting with you. They can look you up, they can find out who
Absolutely.
you are, what you do, how senior you are, and whether it might
Mhm.
be worth speaking to you.
Yep.
And
Yep.
LinkedIn's always been good at that, and it is good
Mhm.
at that. But there's a very frothy layer on top now where everybody is writing everything to everybody, which
Uh-huh.
tends to confuse everything. But there is still a deeper level, a deeper area where LinkedIn is very
Mhm.
powerful because a lot of the people that we want to talk to are actually on it. But we may
Yep.
not see them. We may not see them if we look at the
Yeah.
froth, and the froth may
Mhm.
push people away. So, do you want to? That's my view. How would you describe LinkedIn?
So initially, LinkedIn was a job hunting platform to
Yeah.
hire people, hire professionals. But so far, over the years, over the 20 years, LinkedIn has evolved so much. LinkedIn policies have changed, LinkedIn have changed, people buying behavior have changed. So many things have changed so far. So if I talk about right now, LinkedIn is a very great at building familiarity. When you consistently share how you approach decision, what you prioritize, what you ignore, what problems you solve, what how you solve problems, what you change your mind, people begin to understand how you operate. And that's very valuable because most senior conversations are about judgments, not information. So LinkedIn is a great visibility tool for people who have something to say. And if they use LinkedIn properly, it becomes their leverage. And if they use LinkedIn, carelessly, it just becomes a noise. So right now, LinkedIn is a great visibility tool with proper context and clarity.
But it's getting the proper context that's important. Question: how
Yeah.
do you explain LinkedIn to a senior leader who says they don't get it?
Mhm.
They just see the froth
Good.
and they go, "This is a load of dash dash dash." So how would you answer that? How would, you've got a senior leader coming to you and say, "Look, I've gone onto LinkedIn. It's a real mess." What would your response be?
Sure. So, if a senior leader tells me that I really don't choose LinkedIn, I will not try to convince them then become active. It will help you a lot. I will just ask them a simple question. I will ask them like, do you think your don't you do you think that your reputation is already being shaped there without you? because honestly, it is. Investors check it, potential hires check it, journalists check it, even your own employees check it. So LinkedIn is not a social platform for senior leaders. It's a public leadership archive. If you don't define your thinking publicly, people will define by themselves privately. So they will do it privately. So
Okay,
you know, yeah.
keep going, keep going. Sorry.
Okay, so and practically speaking, you don't need to require too much things to do to become active on LinkedIn. You can, post 3 to 5 times a day, a month, or sorry, 3 to 5 times per month with proper context and clarity, and that would be pretty much it. And the leaders who say they don't use it, they don't want to perform it. So good, because they shouldn't. Uh, and what I mean by that is, if you lead at scale, clarity is the part of the job. And today, LinkedIn is one of the best places that clarity lives in public.
I'm going to smile at that because in some ways, LinkedIn is about as not clear as possible. But what I'll
Uh-huh.
take it for the person that is clear
Hmm.
and careful with their messages can use it incredibly well.
Yep.
But
Yep.
a number of people who don't do that and don't do the pre-work
Hmm.
in, I know it's boring, who don't do the pre-work in won't get the benefit out of it. Let me,
Absolutely. Yeah.
let me move on to the next one. Where do people expect LinkedIn to work where it can't?
Mhm. So the biggest mistake I see people make is they, get on LinkedIn and they get connected with some decision maker, and the very next day they will send a 3 paragraph sales long page. So LinkedIn doesn't work for tech sales. So LinkedIn, the biggest mistake people expect LinkedIn is to close deals. LinkedIn is a visibility layer. It's not a growth engine. So if your positioning is unclear, your offer is average, and your conversation are not strong, posting or sending more people won't solve your problem. LinkedIn can create awareness, LinkedIn can create context, but if you want to, come here to make a sales in next week, it will be, you will be hopeless after a few months.
Okay, and
Yep.
I buy that. Where does visibility? Okay, where does visibility genuinely help? Where does it stop helping? So, what are the things you need to focus on
Mhm.
doing, and what are the things you need to not focus on doing to get
Mhm.
LinkedIn to work for you? I think you said it all. Sorry, do you mind if I say a bit? Because I think you said it,
Sure,
and I'm
sure.
just putting it into my words.
Yeah.
It may be much better to slow down,
Hmm.
be very clear who your customers are, what their pains, wants are, and make
Yep.
sure you get over that you're very credible at that rather than
Hmm.
doing too much content.
Yep. Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So yeah, I would just repeat something from a previous as well. Like, visibility genuinely helps when you have clarity in your content. If someone is about to hire you or promote you or invest in you, or become a partner with you, and they have to quickly understand how you think, what you cared about, and what standards you operate at. Visibility mm, do its job when it has a proper clarity in it. So visibility, becomes a leverage. Visibility with clarity becomes a leverage only because there becomes a leverage for you. And if there is no clarity in your visibility, it's just become a noise.
Okay. And the question that comes on from that, how does dark social differ at more senior levels?
uh, I think you should answer for this question.
Okay, well, my answer may not be the right one, but my answer
Uh-huh.
is that normally the more junior people post the more often,
Uh-huh.
and the
Yep.
more senior people maybe watch occasionally. They may have somebody that does the
Hmm.
posting for them, but
Uh-huh.
if anything, they will watch for things that interest them specifically.
Hmm.
So the dark social becomes more important the more senior the people it is that you want to contact. and to some
Yeah.
extent, the less noise you want when you're contacting more senior people.
Yep.
That would be my view. Okay. Sorry, do you want to add to that?
Yeah, my perspective on this is basically senior people, instead of make taking a decision after reading someone post, they make decision from their own peers. They ask from their people, from their partners, like, have you worked with this guy, how is this person works, all that stuff, and they take decision on the basis of that. And your LinkedIn help you to be in their position, so where you can become in their decisions.
So it's an important aid, but it's not the whole thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, let's move on. What needs to be in place before anything works? This is unfortunately the investment you need to make before LinkedIn works for you. So I've come up with a few things, but feel free to add to it or go into more detail. So a minimum, people need to have a profile that makes sense quickly and makes sense to them, not to me, not to you.
Yep.
A believable professional story, signs of judgment in what you engage in and what you don't, and consistency between public presence and private behavior. Consistency is an interesting word because it comes up in a lot of what we're talking about. It's not only deciding how to get yourself over well, but it's doing it consistently. But let me throw it back to you. What are the bare minimums? A guy comes to you and says, I'm starting at LinkedIn. What's the bare minimum you have to have in place? And what standard does it have to be at?
Okay, so perfect. So I would add two things. I would say two things need to be in place. The first one is clarity of direction. What I mean by that is, if you don't know what you want to be known for, the market will not be kind to you. So visibility without direction just create noise. You should be able to answer in one sentence what you want people to associate you with. So clear positioning is not a job title. It's not your company name, and also it's not I help people grow, I help businesses grow. It's a specific problem you are trusted to think through. So for example, instead of saying I work in marketing, clear position sounds like I help founders turn LinkedIn into a predictable pipeline, or I work with growth stage CEOs where scaling faster than their leadership branch. So the moment there is a bit difference in both. One is category and the other is the context. And sometimes clear positioning, I would say, the one thing that is really important, and the other thing I would say is having a proper direction, a clear positioning and clear direction, clarity in your direction.
No, and I like that. And I'm saying this being guilty myself, that
Yep.
we know all these things, but we
Yeah.
don't always do them. And the reality is life out there is changing, we're changing, and our LinkedIn can be a very curious mix of everything that went before and doesn't relate to what we're doing here and now. And often we need 2 or 3 people to check what we've, in my view, you almost need a number of people to check what we're writing makes sense to our customers.
Absolutely. I myself is guilty of this as well, for the positioning and for the direction as well. So yeah, most of the people are guilty for this point.
No, and because there's so much more volume of fluff out there now, that whereas you could get away being half bad or half good before, it's much harder now. If you've got the reputation, it's okay. But if you're building a reputation, all the 101 marketing basics becomes to the power of 10 more important, which is really, really annoying.
Yep. Yeah.
Last question on this, because we'll move on. How much does a profile actually influence a private decision?
Good question. So I would say uh, I would say more than people admit and less than people hope. So
That's my
what
sort
I
of
mean,
Carry on.
Yeah, but I mean by that is simple. Uh, you know, Let me just think a bit. Uh, I think a LinkedIn profile don't done deals for you, but it put you in a position where deals are happening, where decisions are being made. So what I mean by that is, if you only rely on your LinkedIn profile and you would say like, people will find me and all that stuff will be happen, it doesn't, it will not happen. But if you have a proper LinkedIn profile where people can easily scan what you do and what problems you solve and what are your core expertise, and once if they have in your connections, you have a bit familiarity with them, and at some other place decisions are being made, and some guy comes up to you, his peers introduced you that this is the guy in this expertise, he is the expert. That is far more important than having just LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So I would say like LinkedIn profile is not the 100%, but it is a strong foundation for being at the right place at the right time.
No, it's an important part of the. It's an important part of the. I hate the word. I won't use the word funnel too often, but it's an important part. It's the door to getting in, or it's that check.
Hmm.
It doesn't do
Yep.
it all on its own, but it's an important. It's possibly an important part of the process.
Hmm.
And that
Yep.
leads to the next question, the last question on this bit. How important are inconsistencies, or how dangerous is inconsistencies throughout our profile? We haven't thought it through as a whole, or we got somebody else
Hmm.
to write it who doesn't really know us. Do you think this can, because we keep on, what I found quite interesting about discussions we've been having a lot of it comes back to consistency.
Hmm.
You think that's fair or not?
I think. Uh, have you asked like, where do small inconsistently quietly undermine
That sort of thing,
credibility?
yeah. Where do small, sorry,
Yeah.
that's another way of putting it. Where do people
Yep.
sabotage themselves by not having it thought it all through? And where small inconsistencies between what they say and what
Hmm.
they do, between what
Yep.
they say on their LinkedIn profile and who they connect
Hmm.
to, and the
Yep.
messages they say just don't stack out.
Sure. I got you. I got your question. So, credibility is often undermined by small mismatches rather than obvious mistakes,
Yeah.
and they usually show up in a places where people assume don't matter. So the first is between what you publicly say and how you behave privately. And if you post, if you talk about the long term thinking, but you rush decisions, and if write about empowering your team, but you dominate in meetings, people notice, and they may not convert you, but they adjust their trust. So there is also inconsistencies positioning, which is if one month you are a strategist, the next month you are operator, then you are advisor, and then you are thought leader. People struggle to place you, and when people can't replace you, they don't call you. And finally, the most underestimated core, I would say, is value inconsistency. If you speak about integrity but stay silent when something difficult happens, if you praise transparency but avoid hard conversation, that gap is a liquor. And I would say to peers of mine that say slightly less and mean exactly what you say.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks for that. And that
Mhm.
finishes the first couple of sections. But in a way they're prequels, whatever the right word is,
Mhm.
because if we're talking about dark social, which is where how you can
Mhm.
go in and use the more honest secret, whatever the right word is, use of
Mhm.
LinkedIn, you need that outer covering so you look okay. So people when they look at you, the 3 or 5 second decision is, yeah, this guy, I know what this guy's
Mhm.
about, he's consistent, etc., etc.
Mhm.
So let's go into this dark social again. Again, I got these keywords. People check privately, they ask peers, they message quietly. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and for low risk decisions, people make decisions alone. For high risk
Yep.
decisions, they bounce their thinking off other people. So, what lets people know that a private conversation is worth having?
Okay,
I'm glad
so
I threw that at
I
you.
think
I'm thinking of the answer.
okay, so if someone reaches out to you with a proper reference, a precise point, a point you made, a decision you describe, or a problem they are facing, that's a good sign. It's mean they have done some thinking before contacting you. So I think that's specific content usually if there is a specific context usually means that this conversation is worth having. And so second, I would say the clarity of intent. You don't have to fully form agenda. You should sense purpose. Are they exploring a partnership? Pressure testing an idea, uh, considering a hire. If you can tell why conversion exists, it probably shouldn't. So there is a test I use for myself, after if they're after reading their message, do I feel energized or obligated? If I feel obligation, there's usually a sign it's a mislead. And if there's a momentum, even if it's challenging, that's different. And finally, you can tell a conversation is worth having if it's made beyond information into judgment. So not all inbound conversation requires a calendar spot, but private conversation can compose month of progress into an hour.
No, I get that. Let's move on to the next question. Why do people struggle to move from public to private? Because if we're saying the real stuff, so I apologize for saying this, but it reminds me years ago, this is your world, of a disco of actually got to go and ask the girl to dance or something. So why do people find it hard to go from this public, let's spam everybody, wrong words, to targeted messages to individual people that might genuinely be interested?
Mhm.
Why do you think people find it hard to do this?
So,
Or do you
sorry,
think people?
Michael, your voice was a bit, striking. Is it my side or is it your side?
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yep, I can hear you properly now.
Okay, I was going to say, I was puzzling whether that was a very clever avoidance or a technological challenge, which we never know these days. So basically, a lot of people make a lot of noise on LinkedIn,
Uh-huh.
but
Yep.
I don't get many thoughtful messages. When I think about myself, if we're saying that LinkedIn is potentially powerful because I'm not saying I'm influential, but there are real influential people there, why don't I get more thoughtful messages rather than the ones where you think they've sent 100 of these out? So the question is,
Okay.
why do people seem to struggle to move from the public to the private target message?
Okay. So what I think is, most people struggle to move from public to private because they treat LinkedIn like a stage, not like the beginning of a conversation. So first they haven't earned the right context. They just quickly jump on agenda and someone comment on a post and immediately they will call you for a sales call. That break trust. If you want to move a conversation from public to private, so you should do your proper homework. You should see if this person is really my ideal client or not, or he's a buying or not, in which position he is stayed. So I think uh, people are struggling because they play on number of the people, not on the quality. So which is a very bad thing. You should send 10, even if you send 10 personalized messages, you should do it properly instead of sending 100 messages with with a no context. So I think Private conversation requires intent. If you haven't built clarity publicly, you don't approach privately with purpose. So the more from public to private tactic, it's progression. And progress only feel natural when they are already substance to build on.
No. Okay. Let's move on to the next bit about what action can people take. Because I'm into action. I'm always into action. Action can people take? What can they do to genuinely measure how they're doing, and doing it without creating noise? And by noise, I mean pissing people off unnecessarily, which doesn't do you any good at all. So,
Okay.
what are some of the things that you can actually do? What would you recommend people to do more of on LinkedIn? Or if somebody came to you and said, I can only got time for one or two things, what would those one or two things people be? What
Sure.
would they be?
Okay, so the first one I will tell them is stop posting for attention and start posting to build memory. Instead of saying generic advice, document a decision you make and why. And instead of celebrating a win, explain the context you have to navigate. And instead of summarizing industry news, articulate what you think or what changes or it doesn't. So I would tell them like stop posting generic content and start posting and insightful things. That will the pretty much first thing. Also I would tell them stop trying to sound smart and start explaining what changed your mind. So when you do that consistently, something sustainable happen and you become associated with a specific type of judgment, and judgment is what travel into a private conversation.
Okay. Onto that, I would say one of the things that I've learned over my time, and I forgot to learn that I've learned them, which will make sense maybe in a minute. The things that I've done that's got me the most benefit, which one is actually doing research, using LinkedIn for research, because it is a bit more about the dark social rather than making a lot of noise. I selected about 100. I can't remember how many people I did at the moment, but it was a reasonably tight number of people to do HR directors to do some research onto coaching. And to my surprise and delight, I actually got 100 people to speak to me about what issues they were finding with coaching. And it led to a contract worth probably $250,000 or $500,000, curiously enough, that I didn't run, but I got a commission from it because I'm a Marshall Goldsmith coach for an international company. And the HR director, he said to me, Mike, look, I'll answer your silly questions, but can you provide a coach in Australia? And luckily I could, and that led to another contract, which actually led to a few more contracts. But it was a very soft, I'm doing a study on this, I'd like your opinion, that led to it, which was different to what I would have thought of before. Similarly, the last thing that I've got that I found that is going somewhere very interesting has come from a LinkedIn Live, a little bit like what we're doing now, where somebody saw it and it actually just triggered something in their brain. And so they came back to me and we worked on something from it. But it wasn't what I call the traditional sales stuff.
Yeah.
Also, what I'm doing now, and I've got to find the right word from it, I'm actually posting, rather from lots of posts, I'm focusing on groups of articles around a particular subject. So if anybody happens to be interested in that subject, they can read them all and they can decide whether I'm worth talking to or not. But it's actually giving them a more bulk of information than just pushing all the time. It's actually producing a bulk of content, which for some people will be very attractive. Others may hate it, but that doesn't bother me. It's the fact that the people that are interested in it, they've got something so they can work out themselves that it's useful to them. So does anything else come to mind as what are some useful things some useful things can be do? No is a perfectly acceptable
Uh,
question.
yeah,
Answer.
I
No
would
is a
say like
yeah.
don't don't try to spam people. Like don't send generic messages. Like have a genuine conversation with people. People do want to say yes to a lot of people, but the spam messages they are receiving on a daily basis, they are just irritated by them. So have a genuine question with a genuine engagement with other peoples, and you will have a really good conversation with a lot of decision makers.
Yeah. Okay. And last one for this section. What's the clearest sign that LinkedIn is working for somebody?
Okay, so the clearest sign what I measure is like the type of questions I'm receiving from my peers. Like if someone is, if I have a conversation with someone and he just said to me, "What you do?" So I would, mark this as my failure. But if someone comes to me and says, "Your this post make me like this, solve my this problem," and I want to ask more about you about this, so this is the clear sign that LinkedIn is working for you. So the quality of conversation you are getting from people, this shows the the this shows your failure or success of your LinkedIn is working or not.
No. Okay. Let's move on from that. Um,
Mhm.
I'm using you to help me with some of my LinkedIn stuff. Okay. I happen to be a great fan
Mhm.
of AI, although
Yep.
it's quite fun because AI, I have a love hate relationship because, as I say, it's
Mhm.
better at lying than I am. No, it's better at lying than some other people I know. But let's look at that question. When is it right? When is it right to use outsourcing in AI without eroding trust? Yeah, we're developing our presence. AI is definitely going to be with us. Outsourcing is definitely going to be with us. When and how do we use all this stuff? In your view,
Okay.
what can we use it for? What can't we use it for?
Okay, so you can outsource execution, but you cannot outsource the judgment. You can outsource, the editing, formatting, scheduling, research, or even drafting if you think if your thinking is clear. But you cannot outsource your point of view, your lived experiences, your standards. The moment someone else is manufacturing your thinking, you may gain consistency but you will lose your credibility. And another thing which you cannot outsource is curiosity. If you are not genuinely paying attention to your industry, your team, your decision, no content strategist can fake depth for long, and if it will eventually sound hollow. So you can outsource amplification, but you cannot outsource authenticity.
Okay. And what? Okay, that's fine. Let me just think of that because I'm puzzling this as we speak. I'm puzzling
Mhm.
this as we speak, and I'm again. What comes out to there has to be us, and we almost have to do the pre-work of what
Uh-huh.
are we about, who is our target market, what are the right
Mhm.
messages, what are their pain points, and in essence,
Mhm.
if we don't have a right feel for that, I hate go back to the feeling word. If we don't have the
Mhm.
feel word, you can amplify a lot of noise, and that sort of doesn't work. And hold on, let me see what's happened to my colleague. Testing 1 2. You're back.
Yeah.
You're proving
Yeah.
to me that we are run by technology.
I think in live sessions, these things usually happens. I don't know.
You're right. In live sessions, these things normally happen. What
Yep.
they're going to
Yep.
do is they're going to build them into the dead session so they start looking live. But let's
Yep.
let's 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 not leave it. I waffled a bit there, but our core is us. Our core is us, and we still have to do the hard work. We can
Mhm.
get
Yep.
AI and we can get colleagues to help us do the hard work, but we still have
Mhm.
to do it, and we have to be comfortable. We have an authentic message, and we're offering real value, even if it's to a small niche of people.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so because you're on and you decided to talk to me, which I'm very grateful of. What are the sorts of
Mhm.
things you could do for people? Yeah, two questions. What can you do to help people yourself? Because this is what you spend your life doing. And what do you need from them to be able to help them?
Oh, sure. So, what I can help is if you tell me that these are my ideal clients
Yeah.
and this is the service I want to sell to these people, and this is the problem I solve. So, what I can help you with is, I will take your LinkedIn account and together we will make a lead list in Sales Navigator, and I will start the engagement process with them, like engaging, commenting on their post. So, you can't use AI for that because first of all it's generic. The comment it will give you it's generic, and the second thing is LinkedIn is being strict day by day. If you use any AI automation tools for your commenting, LinkedIn will suspend your account. So what I do is I'm really good at engagement process. So I will manually do the engagement. I will use AI, but I will do my research as well and put thoughtful comments under their post. And once they are hooked, they know what we do, and I will send them a connection request. And once they are in a connection, my client or you will post the content which is solving the problem, which is telling why you are the expert, which is building your credibility. And once they are warmed, I will re-engage with them first, and then I will send them a personalized message with a very short sales pitch, almost near to none. So my main focus will be on building relationships and doing a proper personalization. And then once these two foundations are being built, sales becomes very easier. So I help my clients to focus on the growth in closing deals and growing their business. And I help them, I take over the messy and repetitive tasks from their shoulder to my shoulder.
Okay. Thanks. Okay. And I think my take on what you're saying, my take on what you're saying is, and you're good at it. The client still has to do the basic work to start with, which
Yep.
is to work, which is actually quite painful because I've taken some of my
Mhm.
clients through this to ask them the basic marketing 101 questions.
Mhm.
Who are your clients? How do you reach them? What is the message? How do you benefit them? What are their pains? What are their opportunities? And sort of
Mhm.
without understanding that in depth, everything else tends to fall apart.
Yeah, absolutely.
And therefore, what you're doing is if you've got people that have they've almost done the hard work. I'm not saying what you do the
Mhm.
other hard work. If they've done the hard work, which is thought through their proposition and some of the message, etc., which you can help with, but then you can
Mhm.
take it to the next stage, which, as you say, which you can say is execution.
Absolutely. The execution, I will take over the execution and you will come up and close deals. Because right now you cannot use AI for that stuff for two reasons. Because LinkedIn is being restricted day by day. LinkedIn is putting strong restrictions on choosing AIs because the number of spam people was getting, and the user was getting stressed. The user was getting a bit upset for that. So first reason is that, and the other one is it feels generic. So you have to come up with a great content and great engagement and the great messages to win people's trust. So that's where I come in.
No, I get it. I'm going to put it slightly
Yeah.
differently from my perspective. Because of AI, there is literally 10 times, and there probably will be 1,000 times more messages and more stuff out there than there was before.
Hmm. Yeah.
Therefore, although these tools are useful, we actually have to be 10 or 100 times better at using them.
Hmm.
I
Yep.
am gonna I am gonna suggest whether it's us and whether it's us and them. However, as in many things, those that are prepared to, I hate to say this, almost go back to basics and get the
Yep.
basic things right and work with people like yourself will always find a way through it.
Yeah, absolutely. Basics matters. The foundations is the most important thing that people underestimate.
No. Okay. So I'm going to begin to wrap it to an end now. I know in my
Sure.
mind, I'm very aware we've talked about a lot of stuff, and part of my brain is a little bit annoyed because it's saying, actually, we know all this. We just don't want to admit it, and we don't want to do the work of getting it right.
Yeah.
But there is a huge opportunity for those that decide, LinkedIn has to have a huge opportunity. It's
Mhm.
just like one of these things that everybody says it's easy and brilliant. It isn't. If you want to use it, you've actually got to get your feet wet and get in there and understand it. And the only way you understand things
Mhm.
is by doing them. Sorry about that preachy bit.
Yep.
I'll get off my soapbox now. So let me ask you the last question, Mohammed. If you were advising somebody new or somebody that had been using LinkedIn and was getting frustrated with it, what's
Mhm.
one or two top pieces of advice, top pieces of thoughts you would give them?
You know, if someone is being frustrated on LinkedIn, I would tell them to, accept less requests from the people they receive, especially like if you receive someone from the decision makers or the top, someone, accept that connection request. But if you accept someone from, from the Middle East or from the Asia, don't accept those connection requests, and your number of messages you will receive will be tend to go down. Also keep your feed, only follow those people who are, giving right knowledge to people, so your feed will be very much clear.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that. And I think my thoughts are, which I'm telling myself, is it is for
Mhm.
me back to basics. It's be very clear
Yep.
who our clients are, how we benefit them,
Mhm.
the problems that we solve, and to be able to articulate in a way that they relate to. Not that it doesn't care whether we like it, what we think in a way. It's in a way
Yeah.
that hits their buttons in a credible way, and
Yep.
keep going. Okay, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that. If you want to come back, I will ask you back in 6 months, and we will see
Sure.
if how our thoughts have changed. Because I
Sure.
suspect a lot will change in the next 6 months, and the people that are you came about direction. I'm very into direction. The people that choose the right navigation and put the work in will absolutely get there.
Yep. Absolutely.
So, is there any last word you want to say before I close it?
I would say, like, yeah, do use LinkedIn and use it for the right purpose for to grow your business. And if you need help, I'm just a message away. And do try to grow your business through LinkedIn because it has a lot of potential right now. After 2 to 5 years, I don't know what's going to happen, but right now LinkedIn is, full of opportunities. So to our viewers, I would say, like, definitely go with the LinkedIn marketing and with LinkedIn outreach to getting your ideal clients. And if you need help, I'm just a message away.
Thank you very much. And thank you to everybody else that's out there watching. And thank you to everybody that's watched the replay. You will find some notes in there, and feel free to connect to us or to talk to us separately if you would like to. Cheers.